ठीक है तो यहाँ पे ओके ये ऊपर इसको कैसे करें इसको कैसे हटाएं ऊपर वाले को वो तो नहीं हो तो जाएगा ये होते ही ये ऑटो चला जाता है चलो इसको इधर कर दो जितना इधर कर सकते हो उधर कर दो चलिए ऑटो चला जाएगा जा नहीं रहा चला तो जाता है इसको इधर कहीं आगे पीछे कर कोने में कर देते हैं ठीक है चलो ठीक है आगे नहीं बढ़ रहा आगे नहीं बढ़ रहा
सर स्क्रीन पे क्लिक करके आप नेक्स्ट करिए
10 से पढ़ स्टार्टिंग okay good morning everybody so today we will talk about coronary artery catheters right so in interventional cardiology you know the first thing that we touch is the coronary artery catheter catheter as you know are diagnostic and used for interventional purposes. So, as I said, the word catheter comes from the Greek origin, which means to let down. So, that is down, to send it down, to let down. So, it was initially catheters were used for purgation purposes. So, those were the rectal catheter and those kind of urinary catheters. So, they were like to remove something. But later on, these words were used also for anything that is used to be inserted into a tube or anything. So that those are the that is the word basically. A catheter is a hollow flexible tube that can be inserted into a body cavity, duct or vessel. So that is how coronary catheters came in. Now we know that coronary catheters are of different types. So first is the diagnostic catheter, then of course the guiding catheter. Now we also have guide extension catheters, then microcatheters, balloon catheters, and aspiration catheters. And a stent is also mounted on a balloon catheter. So these are all the types of catheters. What we are concerned about today is the guiding catheters. So that is what we are going to talk about today. Now, of course, you might want to know what is the difference between the diagnostic catheter and the guiding catheter. Can we use diagnostic catheter for the purpose of doing PCI as well? So you have to understand that there are some differences. Number one is that a diagnostic catheter is thicker and softer, but a guiding catheter is thinner but is much stiffer. And why it is? And the other difference is the diagnostic catheter is made of only 2 layers. So there is one layer which is the strengthening layer, and the other is the outer layer. But the guide catheter is made of 3 layers. Why would anybody want to answer why guide catheters are made of 3 layers? Any guesses? Sorry? Support, yes, support, of course. So you need a support. So why do you need 3 layers? That is the question, and we'll come to that. Why do you need 3 layers in a guiding catheter versus a diagnostic catheter, where you need only 2 layers? So we'll come to that. Now, the other difference is, of course, that the inner diameter of the guide catheter is much larger versus the outer diameter. So in a diagnostic catheter, the difference between inner and an outer catheter is about 2F. So there is a 2F difference. So inner dimension is suppose 3F, then the outer dimension will be 5F. So that is the difference between inner and outer diameter in a diagnostic catheter. But in a guide catheter, this difference can be much less. The other thing is, as you might see, a guide catheter will have a very stark angle comparatively. A diagnostic catheter will have a narrower angle. And then a guide catheter is a non-tapering but atraumatic tip. So it's a soft tip, but it is not tapering tip, which is there with a diagnostic catheter. Diagnostic catheter, you need to direct inside the lumen, so you have a tapering tip. So these are some of the differences between a guide catheter and a diagnostic catheter. The other thing that you need to understand is the curve of the guide catheter, and I think that is very important. So you see one by one, this is the tip. This part is the radio-opaque part that you see as a dark kind of band inside the catheter, and the first bend is called the primary curve. So this bend is called the primary curve, and you understand that this part of the tip actually enters the coronary. So this is where it will enter the coronary ostium, and then this part will lie inside the coronary. So that is why it is atraumatic, and it is a softer tip, and also there is a radio-opaque marker, so that you will know exactly where it is lying inside the coronary ostium. This part is the secondary curve. So this is the primary curve. You know, in a JL guiding catheter, this will be 90 degrees, and this is the secondary curve. So this is the secondary curve, and the distance between the primary and the secondary curve. What does this distance mean? This is the size of the aorta. So this is the diameter of the aorta. So this part will be, one part of the aorta, and this will be other part of the aorta. So this should lie between here to here will be the diameter of the aorta. So if the diameter of the aorta is bigger, you will need to use a more bigger guide catheter. So if it is narrow, you could use, let us say, JL3, but if the aorta is a normal size, then it will be between JL 3.5 to JL4. It will be a bigger aorta. It's between JL5 or JL6. So you understand this part between the primary curve and the secondary curve is the diameter of the aorta. And this is what determines what number of catheter you are using. And this is the secondary curve. And this part is the part which will get supported by the ascending aorta. So the more this part touches the ascending aorta, more support you will get of the catheter. So if you want to use a catheter which will give you more support, more part of it should be in contact with the, because you see this is aorta, this is the aorta like this. So this is ascending aorta. So the more this is in contact, more segment of it remains in contact with the ascending aorta, more support you will get from the guiding catheter. So this is why the shape is important. And this is then the shaft, and this is the pivot lock. So this is the lock. Basically, you can lock it here. So I hope this is clear to you, because this is the most important part of the whole catheter. So you need to have these parts. You have to understand what is meant by the primary curve, what is meant by the secondary curve, the distance between primary and secondary curve. So I will show you in more detail, but I thought I will make it very clear. So this is the primary curve. This is the secondary curve. And then there is one more thing that is very important, and this is called angle theta. So now you see, this is the tip, this is the radiopaque part. If it is a good coaxial eliminated, and this whole thing will go inside. And this will come at the ostium. And this whole thing will be moved inside. So the whole tip will be inside the coronary ostium. This is the primary curve. This is the secondary curve. And this is the part in between which will decide the aortic diameter. This is important for aortic diameter. Where the secondary curve starts, the angle on the aorta. So you see, this is the angle made by the secondary curve on aorta, and this angle is called angle theta. So this is called angle theta. If this angle theta is more, then you can imagine there will be more support. So if you do a femoral approach, because the catheter is coming like this, and then it will look like this angle theta will always be bigger. So with the femoral approach, angle theta will be bigger, and angle theta is responsible for the backup. The more angle theta is there, more backup will come. So that is why you understand when you do femoral approach, there is more backup. So situations like calcified complex lesions, perhaps you shift over to femoral approach because you will get more backup with the same guiding catheter. Because if it comes from here, then this angle will be more. If it comes from up, then this angle will be narrow. You can understand. If you use a right radial and it comes from like this, then this angle is narrow. But if it is coming from here and then going here, this angle will be more. So I hope this is clear. So this angle theta determines one of the ways to increase support to the PTCA procedure. So coming to three parts. I told you three parts are there in the guiding catheter. Unlike a diagnostic catheter, there are only two parts. So why three parts? So the inner, there is one outermost jacket. There is one stainless steel. As you said rightly, we need something to support the catheter because you have to pass a lot of things. So it has to have a lot of support. So there is a stainless steel braid and then the inner layer. So there are three layers. So why do we need three layers? And what is the importance of these? What is the importance of outer layer? The importance of outer layer is that it is responsible for the shape of the catheter. Yeah. So suppose you are using, let us say, GL guiding catheter, or you are using a XB or EBU, then whatever shape the catheter is there, that will be maintained by the outer layer. And that is why the outer jacket is responsible for, could be made of polyurethane or polyethylene. So these are the two things. And we will discuss what is the importance of what. When do we use polyethylene? When do we use polyurethane? But it is, as I said, responsible for strength to give support, at the same time flexibility and heat resistance. So this is responsible for the shape of the catheter. And also it comes in contact with the coronaries, and therefore it has to be biocompatible because it is coming in contact with coronaries. If it is not biocompatible, then there will be formation of thrombus if you remove this catheter. So it has to be biocompatible. The second part, of course, you require strength for one to work on. So you want the catheter to move according to the movement you are making. If you are rotating it, then it should rotate. If you are rotating it clockwise, it should rotate clockwise. If you want to rotate it anti-clockwise, it should rotate anti-clockwise. So one to work part should be there. That is the importance of having this stainless steel braid. But third interesting part, this is the internal lumen. And why we need this internal lumen? So suppose we use polyurethane in this internal lumen also. See, can anybody answer? Suppose we have just two things. We use polyurethane in the internal lumen itself. What is the problem? The problem is that inside this inner lumen, you require something which offers the least resistance, which is the softest possible thing. Because you need to move your wire, you need to move your catheters, you need to move other things on it. And if it gives you a lot of resistance, then it will be very difficult to pass a balloon, especially when you require a lot of push and pull. Then it will be very difficult. So you require something which is extremely soft, so that things can nicely move. So it should be very soft kind of thing. So it should be lubricious and smooth to give a device compatibility. So that is why we need 3 layers in a guiding catheter. Now, what about different types of material? So I just told you why you use one, why you use other. So if you use polyethylene, which is the most commonly used outer coating, this importance of this is that it is soft, but the problem is that with heat, it can lose its shape. So that is why standard catheters you can make with polyethylene, but problem will be once you use it inside the body, you might have noticed once you take out the coronary catheter, after some time it becomes very soft and it may not take the position what it originally was doing. So in a diagnostic catheter, you will see this situation very often, that it becomes so soft that it is now not hooking, right is not hooking, right coronary, left is not. But for diagnostic, because you don't need for a long time, so you can use this catheter because you don't need it to retain shape. If you keep it inside the body, it will lose its shape after some time, because with heat, it loses shape. But polyurethane has got an excellent memory, and it is soft, but it does not lose shape with body temperature. If you have to change its shape, you might have to heat it so that you can reshape it. So that is why most catheters that we have with a specific shape will use polyurethane. PVC is a very soft and flexible kind of thing. The only thing is it is so soft that it will move with the flow. So thing with PVC is that it is so soft that it will move with the flow of the catheter. So if you see Swan-Ganz kind of thing, those kind of which are flow directed catheters will use this material because they will go with the flow. Teflon on the other hand is stiff and poor memory, so you can't make outer coat with Teflon. The good thing about Teflon is it is very, very soft and it offers the least friction. So inside the catheter you line with Teflon so that you can pass your balloon, wire, and other devices, etc. very easily. So this is, I think, the important thing. So as I said, super selective catheters, you use polyurethane. With a flow directed catheter, you use PVC. With non-selective catheters, you might use Teflon. Normally, you won't use Teflon. Normally, Teflon is used inside in the inner lining. So, as I said, if you look at the sheet, so this is the sheet. You can see the diameter of sheet and diameter of diagnostic catheter and the diameter of the thickness of the guide catheter. The thickness of the guide catheter is the thinnest. Guide catheter is the thinnest, and you can see diagnostic catheter is very thick. And as I said, the outside diameter is more than 2x than inside diameter generally. Now, why do you choose a guiding catheter of a particular size? What if you used a larger guiding catheter? Suppose you use a 8F catheter or you use a 7F catheter versus 6F catheter, or some people in radial even use 5F. So what is the advantage of using or disadvantage of using a larger catheter? So larger catheter has got a higher bleeding risk, but it naturally, because internal diameter is also large, so it can lead to better coronary emphysiciation. Also, it has got a better support, so better torque transmission, more support, and therefore, when complex PCI have to be done with lot of support required, because the size also gives support. Angle theta gives support, size also gives support. So the more size you use, the more support you get. So for complicated procedures, you might use larger guiding catheter. The smaller, on the other hand, is good because it has got a lower bleeding risk, obviously. It also causes less coronary specification, poorer transmission, less passive support, and therefore less complex procedures are possible with a smaller guiding catheter. Now, something about side effects. And you might have seen many catheters have side holes. So when do you use side holes? So you use side holes when catheter size is normally when you put a catheter. So let us say this is left main and this is the catheter. So once you put the catheter inside, part of it flow inside the left main is still possible because the catheter is not occupying the whole part of left main. So some flow is still happening. So some diffusion is happening even while you hook the catheter. But if the catheter is so that it completely fits the ostium, because there could be the left main intervention where there is left main disease. So the catheter you put is completely occluded the left main and no flow is happening now. Or it's a CTO where you require continuous deep intubation inside so that it gives you better support. Or osteal RCA in all those situations where prolonged intubation is required, side hole, what it will do is from inside, from outside, because of the hole, blood will come inside the catheter and it will get mixed with contrast. So some flow will keep happening if you have a side hole. The advantage of side hole is when the catheter completely fits into the ostium, then there will be a damping of pressure and you will not get any pressure, you will get a zero pressure. So at that point of time, if side holes are present, it will perfuse, not only perfuse, it will also give some pressure. So I think that is important. So in those situations where it is rather risky angioplasty, where the side holes may help, these are the advantages. As I said, it prevents catheter damping, allows additional blood flow. Disadvantages that once you use this catheter, you will not know that you are already damping and that you are deep inside. That message will be lost. So it will give you a false sense of security that everything is okay because you are measuring aortic pressure, not the coronary pressure once you use side holes. Because from side holes, the pressure that you are monitoring is the aortic pressure. You don't know what is happening in the coronary. And the coronary pressure is normal. Of course, because contrast mixed with the blood, so precipitation will come down. And to see, therefore, you have to use more contrast. So contrast volume will improve. And because you put holes, so support is lost. That part, if you have a tube versus if you have some penetrated tube, the support of tube is more. So support becomes less if you use a catheter with side holes. So these are the disadvantages of using a catheter with side holes. So what can be functions of guide catheter? Of course, we know that it is a thing which is acts as conduit for device wire, if allow wire advancement, but also you can inject contrast through it, and even you can measure pressure through it. So these are all the things that you can do beside just passing the hardware. So what is an ideal guide catheter? So ideal guide catheter is something that has an atraumatic soft tip, which provides adequate support, which has a 1:1 torque transmission, which is resistant to kinking. Because that is something that can happen. Once you rotate too much catheter, there could be a kink there. So and once that kink happens, it can be very dangerous because then once you try to take it out, that kink can entrap part of the vessel and then you will be in serious trouble. So the catheter should be kink resistant, it should be radio open, it should be device compatible, it should have optimal wall to lumen ratio, and obviously it should have a shape retention because you don't want to put in a catheter and after some time it loses shape. RCA does not behave like a RCA catheter or things like that. So you need catheter that can retain shape. These are some of the shapes: GL, L-Kamal, MPLAS, internal memory, coronary bypass, AR, Arani. So these are all the types of different shapes and some more shapes, common shapes, hockey stick. So actually you may ask what is the difference between a hockey stick and JR, because both are similar. So just remember that the JR, the lower part of the JR does not reach the aortic root. So it does not take any support from aortic root. But hockey stick can take support from the aortic root also. And I will show you that. So that is the difference between JR and hockey stick. Then this is multi-purpose. This is RBC, 3 TRC, 1, this is RBC, 1 RBC, and this is Lima catheter. So these are just some of the shapes. I just thought I will show you. And these are catheters that are commonly available with us. And you can see here you have these sizes. And as I told you, this size depends on the size of the aortic diameter. So this size should be chosen according to aortic diameter. But also remember, for JL size, same AL size will be 0.5 less, or XB size or EBU size will be 0.5 less. So whatever size you were taking for JL, depending on the diameter of the aorta, you take 0.5 less with these other catheters at least. So this is what I wanted to show you. XB, then same segment. That's why you reach 4.5 only, not 5 or 6. Because 4.5 is equal to 5 to 5.5, something like that. Then there is XB, LED. Then these are all different kinds, multi-purpose, 3DRC, three-dimensional right catheter. This is one interesting catheter. I don't know if you have used it. I've used it a lot, especially for Shepherd's stroke RC. And I will. So this is one very interesting. And then the extra backup, EBU, the Moda catheter, especially for circumflex. Moda catheters are useful. And right also same thing because diameter again same. So same 3.5, 4, and hockey stick 1, 2. Then AR catheter implants left also you can use for some of the right procedures, especially 0.75, 1 and 1.5. And AR 2, 1 and 3, 1 less than JR, as you can see AR. And then multi-purpose A and B. A is completely horizontal kind of thing, and B is more, sorry, A is vertical kind of thing, and B is bit horizontal. So that is the difference between A and B, multi-purpose. So some of the commonly used, as I said already, Judkins implants, extra backup, XB thing, and multi-purpose for RCA bypass. These are some of the common catheters. For Lima, you use right or left coronary bypass. You can use for SVG grafts also, and for Lima, you can use Lima. Now coming to the basic catheter, Judkins catheter. So we need to first understand how is this Judkins guide catheter. So as I said, very important, this primary angle is 90%, 90 degree, and this is the part that sits inside the left main ostium. So this is the part that sits inside the left main, and this should be the left main ostium. And this is the part that should be missing the diameter of the aorta. Secondary curve is about 180 degree, which means that it is practically no curve. So therefore, the angle theta that you get with this catheter is not there, as you may mention. That is why this catheter will not give you much support. So I told you anything when there is a secondary curve is less than 180 degree, then you will get the angle theta. But if the angle theta is 180 degree, if the angle theta is 0, then you get very little support. So this is one problem with this Judkins catheter. But the good thing is that this angle is fixed. So which means that this angle cannot come and go like this, which XB or EBU catheter can do. And because of this, they can cause injury to left main. So because this angle of XB or EBU is not fixed, this primary angle. So once you push it, that angle may increase or decrease. And because of this, it can cause injury to left main. So injury to left main is very little with Judkins left catheter. That is the important advantage of using a Judkins left. But the disadvantage is, once you have this 90 degree angle, then you imagine you want to pass some equipment. Then it has to make a 90 degree bend. And you have to make a 90 degree bend, and then it has entered into left main. And suppose you want to do circumflex, so it has to make another 90 degree bend. So very difficult to do circumflex PCI unless it's a straightforward thing. Once you require support in circumflex, if you use JL catheter, you will face some difficulty in getting the proper support because of multiple fixed bends that are present with this catheter. Good thing is, as I said, because if angle is fixed, it becomes a figure, so it can increment only this much. Whereas an EBU catheter will open up and it will incubate deep and it can even go up to LED. XB or EBU catheter can open up this angle, and then once you push, it may even enter into LED, and so it can injure the whole of left main. So this is the importance of this catheter. So very quickly, again, the same thing I told you, curve length is distance between secondary curve and primary curve. So this is the length. So, and this is based on what is the aortic root diameter. That is what it is based on, this difference. So depending on that, you take your catheter, and this is the same thing happens with Judkins, right? With between primary and secondary, again, because aortic diameter will remain same, so same size you would use for right or left. So if you use JL4, then you would use JR4, because aortic diameter remains same, whether you use right or left. So advantages of Judkins as a guide is that primary curve indicates only a very small segment of ostium, so risk of trauma is the least with this catheter. The second thing is, because it is a fixed, so once it engages, it engages. It will not come out, go in, come out, because the angle is fixed. Once it fits, then it sits on the left vein, and then it will not require much manipulation. So that is an advantage. So it goes by itself, and you don't have to do much once you use JL catheter. Oops, okay. But what is the disadvantage? As I said, the primary curve is fixed. So if it is fixed, now this curve is fixed, but left main is like this. So it will not take shape of the left main. It will keep pointing upwards, and it will not be coaxial at all. So this is one problem. The other problem is primary curve remains 90 degrees. This is difficult to pass because the balloon has to go like this. If it's a long balloon, then it will have difficulty going like this. So this is the second problem. Third, as I said, because the second curve is long and straight, this curve is long and straight. And for circumflex, you have to do this curve. So very, very difficult to do complicated circumflex interventions with Judkins left catheter. The other thing is the point of contact. This is the point of contact between the catheter and the aorta is very less. So support you get from the contralateral wall of aorta is much less. And also angle theta is very narrow. So the support you get with angle theta is also not much. So these are some of the problems. So, and especially with JR actually it does not touch the wall when it directly hooks. So that is why with JR, even this support you get. And that is why with Judkins, you see, once you try to use Judkins right, it keeps coming out again and again, you might have noticed. Because there is no support. If there is some problem, some obstruction anywhere inside the corner, catheter will just come out. Because it is not getting support from the contralateral aorta. On the other hand, if you use hockey stick, the JR is like this, but hockey stick is like this. So hockey stick takes support from bottom of the aorta. So at least some support is there with hockey stick catheter, if you use a hockey stick catheter. So I think these are some of the things I wanted to show you. Now, of course, we come to perfect fit. So what is a perfect fit? Number one is if you have this less than 90 degree angle, primary curve. So that will make it fit better. And if this angle is changeable, then according to orientation of the left main, the catheter will fit it. So it will become coaxial. The second thing is if there is a coaxial alignment. Third thing, as I said, if there is a lot of buttressing. So in this catheter, you notice in that JL I showed you, there was only this part in contact. But here, whole of this part is in contact with the contralateral aorta. So once you do something, this catheter will not come out because the aorta is pushing it inside. So the catheter will not keep coming out again and again. And so because there is a lot of support from the contralateral wire. And the last part is this angle theta, which I said, if this angle theta is more, suppose it was coming like this and going in, then it would give in more support. So the more the angle theta, more support you will get with the catheter. So now let us see how do we choose the coronary catheter. Suppose we have to do a PCI, we want to say which catheter should I use. So for that, what we need to decide is what is the aortic width, which will decide the size of the catheter, number one. Second is what is the anatomy of the coronary. So that part you have to decide. If the anatomy is like superior orientation, inferior orientation, some other problem, then you have to choose a catheter which fits into that orientation. So the coronary catheter anatomy decides the shape of the catheter. Whether you want to use a Judkins, whether you want to use a Emplards, whether you want to use a hockey stick, or whether you want to use a 3DRC catheter, you want to use a Arani catheter, what catheter you want to use depends on what kind of coronary anatomy you encounter. Then also very important is the type of support. So if you require a complex procedure where a lot of support is required, then probably you would use a catheter which gives you a lot of support from contralateral wall and also probably from the root of the aorta. And also the tip, if it sits nicely inside, then all these three things and a good theta, that will give you a more support. So what kind of support you require in a given procedure also determines what kind of catheter you choose. And then, of course, whether it is a naked or a cabbage, you use catheter accordingly. And then, against anything, amount of calcium in the target vessel will decide how much support you require. If there is a lot of calcium, you will require more support. And so you cannot go with just Judkins catheter. You will have to use the XB, EBU, something like that, or even Emplards catheter. I will come to Emplards catheter in a bit. So aortic width, as I said, determines the size of the catheter. 3.5, you use 3.5. 4, if it is dilated, then you use 4, 5, or 6, whatever. Yeah. Then backup support, as I said, 3 types of backup supports are there. One is passive backup support based on all those anatomical things we discussed. How much tip goes in, what is the angle theta, what is the contralateral wall support, what is the root of aorta support. All these things determine the passive support. But there is also a way to improve support by any catheter. And that is called an active support. And something in between is balanced. So I will show you what is there in a little bit later. But let me talk about the coronary anatomy. What I meant by coronary anatomy. So coronary anatomy can be normally, suppose, let us say, this is the coronary. So this is normal. Could be high. So this is high. And this could be low. So this is low. So this could be high. This could be low. So you need a different catheter. If it is this high, then obviously you cannot use a normal JL4 catheter. You might have to use something else to reach there. And if it is low, then you might have to use maybe a smaller size JL catheter to reach something low. Then the other thing is how the vessel looks. So if the vessel is looking down, so instead of this horizontal, suppose the origin is like this, vertically down. So this is an inferior orientation. It could be horizontal, it could be a superior, or it is going like this. So this would be a superior kind of orientation. So how the coronary is pointing, where the ostia of coronary is pointing, also decides the location and orientation. So location could be high, low, and then normally coronary. This is the sinus of Valsalva. Normally coronary is coming like this. But if the coronary is coming from anterior and then going, so this is a anterior location of the coronary, or it could arise from posteriorly. Especially anomalous arteries arise anterior or posterior. So it could be anterior. Also grafts, when you give, they are generally anterior or posterior. They could be anterior or posterior. So the coronary, instead of arising laterally, if it is going anteriorly and then turning, or if it is coming from posteriorly and then turning, so it could be anterior or posterior. And likewise, it could be superior, horizontal, or inferior looking coronary, or there is something called shepherd's stroke. And I will show you what it is. I'm sure many of you must be knowing, but I will come to that. So then, obviously, requirement for PCI is that should be coaxial as much as possible. Coaxial means if you draw a line, adducted, It should be the line of the coronary. If the line is like this, coronary is like this, then it is looking down or it is looking up. So it is not coaxial. In coaxial, the line of the tip is same as the line of the left main of the posterior. Then the second thing is secondary curve. As I said, you could take support from lateral wall, or you could take support from aortic root. In advanced catheter, if you remember, the shape is like this. So advanced take support from the root of the aorta also. So you could take support from aortic root. And the third support is the length of the tip. So in this case, this length is generally short. So short tip. But for other catheters, HB or others, it could be a longer tip. And the more long the tip is, obviously, the more it fits inside the left main, more support you will get. So the length of the tip also determines the support of the catheter. Then the other thing is sharp versus gradual curve. Importance of sharp curve is that it gives you support and it gives you safety, because sharp curve will fix in the left main, it will not move. The tip will not keep moving if it is a sharp curve. So it will give you safety and it will also give you good support. But disadvantage is if you want to pass something and if that angle is 90 degrees, then it is maybe difficult to pass that thing through the primary curve itself. If this curve instead is movable, gradual and movable, as happens in AL, XB, BODA, EBU, all these kind of catheters, then what happens is, suppose the curve initially was 90 degrees, you are putting a device, then this will open up and it will become less than 90 degrees and the device will go in easily. So that is the importance of having the correct curve, especially when you want to do a complex procedure. Now coming to this M-class guide. So now you know, it is taking support from the root of the aorta, it is taking support from the contralateral wall, right? And the curve is also changeable. So depending on the coronary, it can either become open up, it can be like this, whatever. So secondary curve rests against the aortic cusp. This is a secondary cusp. It is resting against the aortic cusp, taking support from that, backup support from contralateral wall. Now, very good when it is this kind of thing going down. Because what will happen is, if you put a wire and if you put a device, if you have a Jupiter, it cannot shift. But if it is an impact, once you put a device, this will start coming up. And so this angle between this and this will start narrowing. Instead of 90 degrees, it will become less, because implants will become like this. And then you will have the possibility of entering like this. So that curves will change of circumflex. And therefore, for doing a circumflex interventions could be a very good idea, because the curve is not, primary curve is not fixed. So this is the important thing. But the problem is, because this tip is moving and it can move down and it can easily injure the left main. So for a novice or a beginner, this catheter is very, very dangerous, because unless you are watching the tip, you are so careful that you are doing PTCA somewhere else. Angioplasty, balloon implantation is occurring somewhere else. Balloon implantation is happening here. But you are keeping an eye on the tip of the catheter also. So unless you are able to do that, and you are so experienced that you know that while procedure is happening there, what is happening to my tip? What is happening to distal tip of my guide wire? Because that is another thing that happens. For beginners, what they do is focus on the lesion only, and they don't keep looking at what is the distal tip of guide wire doing, or what is the guide catheter doing, because they are just focused on that area and not looking at this guide catheter, what guide catheter is doing, whether how it is moving and how it is injuring the left main, or what is the distal wire doing, whether it is going into a side branch, whether it's perforating that branch, whether guide branch is happening or not. So these are the important things. So this kind of catheter is for an advanced operator. Certain tips and tricks of using the implants guide. As I said, you have to use a smaller size. So that is one thing. And the tip is lying a bit below the ostium. So you have to keep a watch on that. You have to use a smaller size guide and never try to force implants because the tip is movable. If you force, tip will move. And if you force too much, tip will injure the left main or whatever you are doing or ostium of the RCA. Both things can be injured. Another very important difference between an implants catheter and a Judkins is that if you want to, once it has seated inside the coronary, if you want to move implants catheter further into left main, you don't push it, you actually pull it. If you pull it, then angle will improve, open and implants will move inside the left main. And if you push it, it will actually come out. So common mistake people do is while removing the implants after the procedure, what they do is they start pulling. Because they think Judkins you pull and you take out of the coronary ostium. With implants, if you pull, actually it goes further and it injures the left main. So unless you know this, that withdrawing implants actually moves it forward. And pushing it actually moves it out. So the way to do it is you push it a little bit. If you have to remove the implants, you push it a little bit. So then it will come out of the ostium of the left main and then you rotate it. And then once you rotate it, then it will move away from left main. And now you can actually pull it. So you just don't pull it. You push it. It comes to the ostium of left main. You rotate it. It moves out of the ostium of left main. And now you withdraw it. So this is the way of withdrawing the implants catheter. Little bit about the long tip catheters as well. So long tip catheters, as you know, can give you a better support because if this part fits in, then support will be better. If only this part fits in, actually naturally you can see support is less. And it can come out again and again of the ostium. Then obviously it can lead to coaxial intubation, and because it lacks bends, so advancement of devices will be much better. Especially this Voda catheter. It has got multiple short, non-sharp bends, which take the contour of the aorta. So there are many non-sharp bends like this. So there is no there are continuous bend. Continuous bend. This is EBU, but Voda is even more. You won't even find a secondary thing because there will be so gradual that the bends are not there. So very easy to pass devices. So especially when you are doing circumflex, when there is a problem that device has to move take one secondary curve, then take one primary curve, then again take another curve to go into circumflex. This Voda catheter is very useful because there is no primary curve and no secondary curve. Only you have to negotiate it so that it sits on the top of circumflex and then the device can be delivered right into the circumflex. Now, little bit about extra backup. Extra backup is different from implants because it is not sitting into the aortic root, but it takes a lot of contralateral support. So this is the good part. It has got a longer tip and because it is sitting nicely and this primary angle is changeable. And because of this, it can be very useful in complex angioplasties, especially where you require a lot of support. So long tip, less angle between primary and secondary curve, which is not fixed and which is adaptable. And long secondary curve and lot of contralateral aorta replies for support. So it offers a very stable platform. Now, as I said, if you want to do circ, complex intervention on circ, Voda is the best catheter. But if you do LAD, then there's something called XP LAD, which gives you the best support for LAD. So best support for LAD is XP LAD. Best support for circumflex could be Voda or EBU catheter. That will give you better support for circumflex. What about RCA? Again, GL4, as I said, at least GL4 has some contact with the contralateral wall, although very small, so not much support. But GL4 has no support from the contralateral wall. So that is one problem with JR4, and that is why with this right interventions, many times, I don't know whether you have noticed, that you hook it right, you try to put a wire and then catheter comes out. Then you again hook it very carefully, put a wire, and then you start putting a balloon, then again catheter comes out. Because there is no support to JR catheter. So you require a catheter with more support in those situations. So you might like to have a hockey stick catheter, which at least takes support from the base of the aorta. Or you might want to use an Emplatz catheter, which will take support from the contralateral valve and also the base of the ring. So Emplatz 1 is a very good catheter for this because it takes support from many places. Then there is something called Al-Gamal catheter also, and I will not go because they are not commonly available. But they are shaped so much that they use this whole thing very well to take support. So they have the curve, secondary curve is like this, that it gives you a lot of support. And maybe I will show you the image. And then there is also something called XBR catheter also, XBRC catheter also, which is like XB of left side, not very common, but rarely you can make them available. But this is interesting guide which I wanted to discuss with you. And this is a multi-purpose guide. And this every lab should have. Why? Because this is very good for an inferior oriented artery. Because this is the only catheter that will go inside and sit in an inferiorly oriented artery. So this is an MPA. MPB is unfortunately like this. So MPB has got a narrow angle, but this has got a wide angle, nearly 180 degrees. So anything, if there is an inferiorly arising right coronary artery, multi-purpose catheter is the best catheter to use. And nearly so for right bypass curve, for high left main takeoff, or inferior takeoff. Even left main, if it has got a takeoff, then you might have to take this multi-purpose, because multi-purpose catheter can directly go up or directly go down. So anything which is looking up, you can bend it from the aortic root and take it up like this, or it can directly look down. So for a vertically oriented artery, multi-purpose catheter may be a good option. But multi-purpose B is 90 degree like any other catheter, so not much use. Multi-purpose normally means multi-purpose A only. And that is the catheter for a vertically oriented artery, whether inferiorly or superiorly. Then this is that catheter I wanted to tell you about. This is the 3DRC catheter. And this is the best catheter for a shepherd's crook RC. So I would recommend, if you do a lot of complex angioplasties, then at least have one shepherd's crook RC catheter. Multi-purpose is mandatory to have in every lab. But some labs also have 3DRC catheter. For example, at our Ames lab, we used to have this 3DRC catheter also available with us. And this is very good for shepherd's crook RC because the shape is like a shepherd's crook. See, remember, shepherd's crook, if you remember Jesus Christ carrying that kind of thing, some question mark kind of staff. So that is called a shepherd's crook. And this has got the same shape. So this can be useful in shepherd's crook RC. Now this is the Arani catheter. Again, you see, it is taking support from here, from two contralateral valves. And therefore, for RCA interventions where you require a lot of support, same thing you can have take this. You can actually take support from here and take support from root and system. Support from two opposite contralateral valves. So Arani catheter is also very useful. It's not routinely available, so I don't think you can find it easily. But it will also give you very good support for right coronary. Then coming to guides for grafts. Now grafts, generally what happens is you take from the aorta and you put it on the part of the coronary. So where you take from the aorta is the graft. So if you take it from anteriorly, you could take it anteriorly, you could take it from this side, you could take it from here, you could put it here, mostly anterior organs. And mostly graft, because you don't take it from here, you take it from somewhere above. So normally a vertically oriented artery. So for verticals, either you use a multi-purpose or you might use a Emplatz, because Emplatz can take whatever shape. It can, like a snake, go up and sit anywhere you want to. But on the other hand, because it is on the right side mostly, So even JR can work in many cases. But if JR doesn't work, then probably you can use, if in this kind of oriented artery, vertically oriented artery, you can use a multi-purpose. Or if complicated anterior, posterior, you don't know where the graft is arising from the aorta. Because the quantities arise from lateral aspects, but the graft can be anterior, posterior, somewhere. And you have to search for it. So catheter good for searching is implants. Because if you put it on the aortic root and then you push it, it will move anteriorly. You push it, remove, so push it and it will move posteriorly. If you pull it, it will move anteriorly. So they will keep rotating inside the corner, inside the whole aorta. So implants catheter, implants left is a catheter, you can make it rotate inside the aorta in different locations. So you can use an implants left catheter to locate ostium of any bypass graft that you have been putting. So that is the importance of implants left catheter. So just an idea, as I said, for a vertically oriented artery, you might want to use multi-purpose. But if it is like just little above than the coronary ostium, then you could use a Judkins right catheter, or alternately hockey stick catheter, because hockey stick catheter will give you more support. It will sit on the the aortic root, and if nothing works, implants left. Implants left is the final thing. If nothing works, then you take implants left and search the whole aorta, ascending aorta for origin of the graft. So lateral wall, distal RCA, you can have anterior origin, anterior wall, more anterior wall, whatever implants will pick up. Then finally, the Lima catheter. Now, Lima catheter is, as you know, something from arising from subclavian, like this. So you require a catheter that sits like this, like a 3DRC catheter, something like that. Not exactly 3DRC catheter, but shaped something like this, like a snake, like this. So that kind of catheter you need, because you need to get into Lima. So there are INA catheter, internal mammary artery catheter, and those kind of catheters which can sit here, and you can use them to do the Lima interventions. A bit about, because I think most of you are doing now transradial, so bit about transradial. Important thing is that more or less, advantage of transradial, that reduced exercise bleeding and also reduced mortality. But drawback is that, of course, that catheter does not have a good angle theta, so may not give you very good guide support. Then it has a problem in accessing the ascending aorta. So those problems you might face. Then problem in hooking also is there. And the last problem is that the size of the guide catheter that you use has to be less. You can't use the larger because radial is not large. So if you need more support, complex interventions, etc., you may not be able to use a transradial approach. But having said that, it is still being used. So different techniques are described for to overcome the difficulties for accessing ascending aorta. Basically, what you do is, if you have difficulty, ask them to take a deep breath and then counterclockwise the catheter to reorient it and get inside it. In tortuosity also, there could be some problem. Again, deep inspiration, a softer guide wire can help. So you can move the catheter over a guide wire, hydrophilic guide wire you might want to use. But then the other problem is that kinking can happen because it's a lower profile catheter, so lower radial strength or lower lateral support. So it can easily kink. Again, you can use inspiration to remove these kinks, etc. And good thing is that the problem is, as I said, this is a smaller size catheter, so it has got a less support. So to increase support, what you can do is, till you hook the ostium or till you are inside, you could use a wire inside the guide catheter, and that will improve the support, and that will take care of many of the problems associated with low lateral support of these kind of guides. So now type of catheters again are more or less same, except that JL4 is not much used. Instead, you use EBU or XP because JL4 support is becomes very less with transradial. So you can't use JL4 generally for transradial approach. So mostly you would use EBU or XP. Although for RCA you could use JL4, and then implants left, of course, as I said, like other situations. And for SBGs, you could use multi-purpose or JL4. So same thing. For whether to use right radial or left radial, mostly people use right radial because they're comfortable doing from the right side. But for cannulating Lima, of course, it will be much easier if you use a left radial approach. The one difference is that for radial, you use one size less or 0.5 less, not one size, 0.5 less. So if you are using JL4 or JR4, for a radial you will use JR 3.5. That is one difference. Other thing is that the orientation, because radial angle theta is much less. So, so support and hooking, etc., is a bit more difficult compared to femur. So basically, for left main, XB, EBU, from below up with a counterclockwise movement. These are some of the things that have been described. You could use, or you could use the implants 1 or 2, whatever you would want to do. And JL is less frequently used, again, as I said, because much less support it gives. But JR4 is mostly adequate. But again, in case of difficulty, AL 0.75 or AL1. But the implants, as I said, problem is tip keeps moving. Unless you have a eye on the tip that is moving throughout the procedure, you might land into osteal dissection. And with respiration also, because this tip is not fixed, angle can open up and tip size can increase. So not only side to side, it can also move forward, backward. So a lot of back and forth things can happen, and all these can injure the coronary ostium. Some dedicated catheters are also available. I don't know if they're available with you, but these are some of them, and I just, for the sake of mentioning and just discussing, and they have a different way of cannulating also. Kidney, Ikari, these are some of the catheters. Ikari, I guess, is available, but I don't know if people are using it. For Lima also, the Lima catheter is the best modified internal memory catheter. For Limas, basically, more or less, the thing is that it is same internal memory catheter is used here as well. So let us have a short break, and biological break if somebody wants, and we would like to welcome sir. It's very kind to come here. Welcome, sir, then we can have a break, and then we can have some small reflections, and then we can.
After a long break, I have come to a class and suitable one because of my schedule these days. And I'm able to attend my entire department. And I'm getting somebody for the part of this field. I'm not setting. And I would say, after the race, Last time also the as I told you that better will be those sectors for the activity that was the value of our field. And then so it's not very important. Also, it will usually expect and what is the good stuff? Like, you are getting the answer next time. My person does a few things, we will try to understand why he's doing, why he or she is doing. That is important. And why you should ask him for a nobody that is not to do this most of the writing like this. What to do? So many good things I have also talked about. Because so many important, especially so many
Okay, welcome back. Now, I think with this short break, let us resume what we were discussing. Okay. Yeah. So let us now move from more basics into now more practical aspects. So we have to understand why backup is required. So one of the difference between a guiding catheter and a coronary catheter is the backup. And that is why you cannot use a diagnostic catheter for doing PCI. Number one, the internal diameter is not much. So you won't be able to pass wire. Of course, you may pass wire, but then balloon, etc. we won't pass because internal lumen is not good enough. But the thing is that backup is not good enough because it's not made of 3 layers. So backup is much better. But many a times you reach even more backup for doing the procedure. And it is important to keep the guide catheter in position so that it doesn't keep coming out of the ostium again and again. And it provides appropriate stability for advancement of interventional equipment. So stent delivery failure is a situation where you put the wire, you even do balloon angioplasty, but you are unable to pass the stent. And that inability to pass the stent is known as stent delivery failure. And what are the reasons for stent delivery failure? Of course, calcific lesion, highly tortuous lesion, previously stented area. Because normally if you pass through a previously pass another stent through a previously stented area, there is a likelihood of that stent getting stuck in the previously stented area. And once that happens, there is a lot of problems. If you are unable to pass your stent, it can get stuck there, may not move. So something called the stent is not moving forward or backward, or it may even embolize. The stent may embolize, and so a lot of problem. So the question is how to increase the backup. And some of the things that we have already seen is that if you use a larger guide, so for example, if you use 7F, 8F, something like that, you will have more backup, number one. Second, if you use an angle that keeps moving, the primary angle is not fixed, then you will get a backup. If the tip length is more, you will get more backup. If you are able to get support from contralateral wall, you will get more backup. If you are able to get support from aortic root, you will have more backup. And if you have a larger angle theta, you will have more backup. So this we already saw. So these are the ways you can improve the backup. And as we said, backup can be passive or active. So this is a way to improve the passive backup. So as I said, passive backup is the inherent design and the property of the shaft and the tip to maintain position at ostium. Support being provided by aortic root, the coronary valve or cuff, and the shape of the catheter, tip size, length, etc. Here, you don't require any manipulation. By the shape of the catheter itself, you get a good support. But the second kind of support that you can get is active support. And what I mean by active support is sometimes you can intubate the catheter deep inside the aortic coronary ostium. You could even intubate inside LAD or circumflex to take the catheter deep inside. And so that can be a manipulation, especially used in RCA, where you can intubate RCA and reach up to even proximal part or even mid part of RCA sometimes. And so you deep seat your catheter. So that is called a deep seating. And something in between, which you can deep seat also and you can is a balanced approach. Mostly balanced approach is better, but so these are the 3 types of backup supports. So of course for active support, what are the prerequisites? Then ostium, you have to deep seat. So ostium should be large so that you can move your catheter inside it nicely, and ostium should be disease free. Otherwise, you can't deep seat. If ostium disease is there and you start deep seating, then dissection at ostium will happen and there will be more problem. But for passive, Basically, you know what you just require is proper guide selection and sizing, and that will give you a passive support. So proper selection of guide catheter will give you passive support. Okay. So now, what is the proper guide catheter scale? So you see, this is JR4. There is no support from contralateral wall. There is no support from root of aorta. But just the fact that this angle, primary angle, is sitting inside, so there is a simple coaxial alignment without support. So this is what happens with JR. If you take hockey stick, now you see this is hockey stick. It's like hockey stick. If you look, it's like a hockey, and it is taking support from the root of the aorta. And then it is sitting inside the ostium. So the coaxial alignment is possible with some extra support. This is EPU. EPU, extra support is coming from contralateral wall and also the angle. So if the left limb was like this, EPU would have become like this. If left limb was like this, it would have opened up. So the change of primary angle can lead to support, and that is what is happening with EPU catheter. So what is deep seating? Deep seating is this. As you see, normally you go to ostium, but in deep seat you move inside, and you might even reach mid-ostium, or you might reach all of left main. You might have traversed to deep seat vessel. Obviously, as I said prerequisite, there should be no disease anywhere here. Because if some disease is there, it will lead to dissection. So no disease should be there. And for LD, you counterclockwise rotate. So if you rotate like this, so catheter will move in. If you rotate like this, catheter will move in. You understand? But for right, if you move like this, this is the right side. If you move like this, catheter will go in. For LD, if you move like this, catheter will go in. Rotation versus counterclockwise rotation, deep seat. So this is how you can deep seat the coronary. But other than this, what are broadly maneuvers to increase guide support? So of course, one is increasing the guide size. I told you that is one maneuver, increasing the guide size. You make 8F, 7F, guide support will improve. But there are certain other techniques also. So there is a parallel wire technique. There is a side branch technique. This is anchoring balloon technique. You can use a longer sheath, and you could use a child in mother catheter. And we will come to what is child in mother catheter. So just like child is inside the mother, pregnant mother, so there is this child in mother catheter, which is a guideline catheter. We will talk about that. So guide size, as I said, guide will require active support in most cases, and it will require to be supported. But the good thing is you can deep seat it. You can take it inside because the size of the coronary will permit it taking inside, and it can actually provide a guide extension by deep seating inside, and it can give a backup. 6F is the regular one. 7F will give you more support. Long tip, as I already discussed, will give you more support. Now, what is this parallel wire technique? So, parallel wire technique is when second angioplasty or body wire is advanced parallel to the wire. So, this is one wire, and this is the other one. One wire is this is the other wire. So, one wire is like this, and one wire is like this. And so, it's not something body, and it is not a body. What you can do is, you can put another wire here, and you can put it in either the same branch or in a different branch. And this wire will give support because the wire will become double. And so it will be possible to pass this balloon through this particular part. Because two wires are there. The both wires are giving support to the balloon. So this is the technique can provide a good support. The other is the side branch wire. So you are doing a procedure here. But the catheter is moving in and out when you are trying to push it in. So one way to stabilize catheter is to put a wire here. So this is a side branch wire. What it will do is these two wires, it will prevent catheter from moving forward because two wires will support this catheter now. So they will give more guide catheter support. And now you can do, here they are trying to do a rota. So you can do a rota. So this technique. So this is a side branch wire technique. Even better support. What you can do is, see, you want to do this. And then what you do here. So to support the guide catheter, you fix this anchor balloon. And through this anchor balloon, now your guide has become fixed. And now you are able to procedure here. So this is the third technique. This is the anchor balloon technique. So on the body wire, you can put a balloon and inflate it at low pressure so that it will fix the wire and ultimately fix the guide catheter. And then the guide catheter will not move that much, and then you can do your procedure. So this is the anchor balloon technique. But the best technique is this child and mother catheter. And I think that is the best technique. So what is this child and mother? So you see, this is the child catheter, and this is the mother catheter. And this is child inside the mother. So you see the child is going inside the mother. Mother is bigger diameter, and child is 2 French smaller. So this is mother. Inside the child is going, and what is child doing? So mother catheter is finishing here, but child catheter is finishing here. So mother catheter is whether they are finishing at the RCA ostium or left main ostium, but child catheter has gone deep in, and it has gone inside the LAD and has fixed inside the LAD. So this is child in mother catheter. And this is the best kind of support possible when you are faced with a situation where nothing will allow the strand or balloon or something to go in a tortuous calcific lesion. This is the best technique. You do child and mother. So 2F lower size catheter can be used in a mother catheter, and the type of is guideline. So it can help in delivery of stents. It can improve backup, and it is known that whatever kind of lesion it is there. So this is basically used for wire crosses, balloon doesn't cross. So this situation, or balloon crosses, stent doesn't cross. So for those kind of situations, to improve the guide support, you use this child and mother catheter, and it will achieve success in 90% of the cases, more than 90% of cases. So this is the benefit of this kind of catheter. Coming to coronary anomalies, so you can see this is the horizontal. So the ostium is horizontal. Orientation of ostium is horizontal, right? Origin of ostium is horizontal. So this is the horizontally oriented coronary. This is inferiorly located coronary. So you see, coronary is coming like this. Coronary is coming like this. This is inferiorly located, inferiorly oriented coronary. Instead of coming horizontally, coronary is coming like this. So this is the inferior location. And this is the superior. So coronary is going up, and then it is going down. So it's a superiorly going coronary. Here also, and this is the shepherd spoke. So this is the superiorly oriented RCA, and it is formed like you can see, like the shepherd carrying that thin staff with a hook, and the hook is for what? Why does shepherd have a staff with a hook? To catch hold of sheep and pull them back from neck. So that is the purpose of that crook that the shepherd is using. And same kind of thing happening in the right coronary, then it's called a shepherd crook RCA. So this is that kind of orientation. So obviously you have to be aware of variations of coronary anomalies, and then such sinus in case of, if you cannot find a coronary somewhere, you will have situation where circ is not found. You do angio and you can find only LAD and circ is not found. Likewise, you may have a situation where RC is not found. That is more rare. Circ not found is more common. Circ may be arising from a separate origin from the left coronary sinus. It could be arising from a separate origin from right coronary sinus. It could be arising from, most commonly, from the RCA. So very common situation is RCA having origin of circumflex. So these are some of the anomalous locations of the coronary which you might have to search for. So depending on the anomaly that you are suspecting, if you are suspecting some anomalous location from the right sinus, then I already told you best catheter is implants. Most likely implants left, but also you might choose implants right. The other thing is multi-purpose, especially when it is vertically oriented artery. So multi-purpose can be useful. So if you search with implants left, suppose you do a case, you find LAD, you do right, you find RCA, you don't find circumflex. Now what to do? So what to do? Anybody? Do sinogram. So sinogram will probably show you what is the origin of the missing circumflex. And then you can use, depending on the location, if you think it is coming from the right sinus, then you can choose the implants left and search whole of the right sinus for origin of this missing circumflex. Or if you cannot get it, then you might try implants right, and finally you will try multipurpose. If it is from left sinus, obviously you take a larger size JL. What it will do is, if it's a superiorly oriented separate origin, it will pick up. Larger JL will pick up a superiorly high takeoff artery. But if you can't do it, then you take implants left, of course, and then search the whole left sinus. And if not, then you can use multi-purpose, as I said, again from superiorly or inferiorly oriented artery. So this is representation for things coming of RCA coming from left sinus of that. So these different catheters you could use, TERPA, implants left, implants right, 3DRC catheter, which is again, like as I said, good for shepherd's crook kind of situations. You can write them. So these are all group of catheters that might be useful here. So just to summarize now, I think we are kind of ending, and before I will have a small quiz for you, and I will make you select the right guiding catheter. So before I do that, pay careful attention to the catheter of choice for different situations. So if it is a normal aorta, normally catheter of choice is GL4 for a normal, but these are the alternate catheters that we might use. If you require more backup, you might want to use XB 1.5 size lower. Or EBU, if it is a circumflex, then you might want to use VODA. If it's then of course implants 2 is an option. If it is a dilated aorta, one size more, you might require GL5, not AL2, AL3, not XB 3.5, XB4. Still larger, you might use GL6 or XB 4.5. More backup is required, of course, as I said, EBU normally. XB 3.5, VODA or circumflex, XB LAD for LAD. If it is a superior takeoff, so obviously either you use multi-purpose for superior takeoff, better still would be AL2 short tip, because you don't want AL2 just go inside the whole left main. So you use AL2, anything, anywhere you can't find AL is the thing. So here we use AL2 short tip. But if it is an inferior takeoff, As I said, always good for inferior is multipurpose. Multipurpose A you take for any inferior takeoff, whether it is left or right. High takeoff, again same thing, anywhere up, anterior, posterior, lateral, anything here. So you may take AL3. Low takeoff, again up, down, whatever, you can take AL. Only thing is, if it is low, then you use a smaller size AL 1.5 or 1. If it is high, AL3. It's normal AL2. So this is the kind of thing you use. Posterior, again, here, there, whatever, AL. And circ anomalous, because anomalous circ generally arises from RCA and from right coronary sinus. So multipurpose could be a good idea because it will be inferior takeoff of circumflex. Anomalous circ arising from right coronary sinus. What about right? For a normal aorta, you could use JR4, but if you require more backup support, you might want to use hockey stick. For dilated, JR5. For superior, again superior, inferior, whatever, here, there, always AL. But only thing is, for something looking down, inferior, you use NP, multipurpose. High, again, AL is there. Anomalous, you can try many things. Anterior, posterior, whatever it is, you have to take AI. Shepherd's crook, again, this is an important thing. There are many options. AL 0.75 or 1 is normally the best. It will definitely give you good support. It will like sit like a snake inside the RCA. But the only problem is dangerous. Implants catheter is always dangerous and it can cause a lot of dissections. Safer one is 3DRC catheter. But Lima catheter, if you remember, is also like this shepherd thing kind of thing. So that is also possible to use. Or hockey stick, or multipurpose if it is straight up or straight down. Vertical, always multipurpose is a good idea if others are not working. But the best is AL 0.75 or 1 or 3DRC is the safest. For SVG graph, RCA graph, because RCA graph usually because it's a higher thing, so the origin is vertical. So you use multipurpose. Anterior location, again anterior, posterior, anything, and plots. LCA graph is put on the right side. So JR or hockey stick is a good idea. So the first, if you have to look for SVG graph of left side, you use JR or hockey stick and you search for them. If you can't find them, then of course next is AL. AL you start taking and then you start sifting. Still you cannot find. Then you do aortogram. Aortogram you see something vertically oriented, up or down, multipurpose. So this is maybe a good strategy to look for graphs because many of you might be doing graph angiographies and you might be facing this difficulty. So this is the way to basically look for graphs. Anterior, posterior, whatever it is, AL. Always AL. Because AL is movable primary curve, movable secondary curve. It can, like a snake, it can rotate around the whole of aorta. It will, like a snake, it will move like a snake, just putting wherever it is coming, anterior, posterior, it will hook, anterior, it will hook, lateral, up, down, everywhere. This implants left will do that. So let us now come to the last part, that is the quiz. So you want to take quiz or we just move ahead? You want to answer some questions or no? Yes or no? Okay. So this is, suppose this is the case of normal aorta, circumflex bifurcation PCI. So what guiding catheter would you use here? Anybody? EBU. Why EBU? To define, it's a normal aorta, nearly horizontal with takeoff, but problem in circ. Bifurcation circ, you require more support. So you take, so this person took XB 3.5. So you see EBU or XB and not 4, because for EBU or XB you take 3.5. So he took XB 3.5. Now this is a dilated aorta and there is LED disease. So what do you take? GL4. So I think whole presentation wasted. GL4. Okay. So use HB4 because the operator thought that it's a tight lesion, so obviously better support. So HB4 was used. You could use JL5 also. No problem. Now, ostial calcific left main, like this. So it's a calcific ostial left main. So what do you want to use now? GL. Will GL give support for a calcific left main? AL. AL will deep side inside it. AL. JL will not give you support. AL will deep seed it. A left main it might get dissected. Understand the problem. So side hole. So EBU with side hole. So EBU will give you more support. Side hole will allow the whole thing to happen. So you will have more support and you will have bit safety by having the side hole. So here PTCL with rota was done on this calcific left main. Superior takeoff. RCA superior takeoff. Okay. So which catheter? AL. Okay, now I think everybody knows. So this is AL side hole. So let me go back. See. So this was AL's one side hole catheter. Good. Inferior takeoff. Multiple. So I think everybody is expert now. So this is a multi-purpose catheter. So you see how it comes. So it's like this. So this was multi-purpose 1, 8F. Left-sided HVG. Which one? JL? AL. Left-sided, regular left-sided HVG is like RCA, right? So you use a catheter that is useful for RCA. You use a simple either JR or hockey stick. Because left-sided SVG graft is like a RCA only. Only thing it may be little up or down or somewhere. It's like RCA. So always you take a RCA catheter. You may take JR or you require better support, then you use hockey stick. So here hockey stick was used. Another left-sided SVG, LED circumflex. They tried with JR but not happening. Then you take AL. So 7F AL side hole was taken. And then there is something called left coronary bypass catheter also. So I just wanted to show you this. So I included this. So this is specific catheter for bypass grafts. So there are specific catheters for internal memory called internal memory catheter. Likewise, there are a specific catheter for bypass graft also. Left coronary bypass graft. So this is this left coronary bypass graft. Catheter, sorry, not graft, catheter. Left coronary bypass catheter. Specific catheter for left-sided bypass. And for Lima to LED, which catheter? Lima. Lima catheter or IMC catheter. Or if nothing works, then final thing is AL. Nothing works, then AL. So this is that it's funny people tried JR catheter because they had hooked the SVG grafts with JR catheter. So they tried same JR catheter to try to hook Lima, but obviously not giving proper support. So they tried JR, and again, as you may see, not very good support, but they did. But if you look at Lima catheter, now you see how nicely Lima catheter hooks the bypass graft. Lima, and this is the internal memory catheter. So again, you can see that it nicely hooks the internal memory. Tortuous circ, Boda, yes. Tortuous circ, Boda, or if you don't have Boda, because all labs will not have Boda. Excellent. You can try. So somebody, again, funny person tried JL, but not much happening. So EBU was taken, then finally, then good support. So that is the idea. Tortuous RCA. Which one? Radium? 3D RCA. This is not Shepherd's crook. Shepherd's crook is, if you have Shepherd's crook is like this. This is horizontal and then going up, then going down. This is a tortuous RCA. This is not Shepherd's crook. Hockey stick will not give you support. If you take hockey stick, it will sit here nicely, but wire has to go up, then come down, then go up, then come down. So you require a lot of backup support. Mother and child, of course. Final is mother and child. So somebody like you, he tried hockey stick, and you can see that support was, yeah, somebody saying AL. So hockey stick was tried initially because they thought it was a horizontal thing, but obviously not giving much support. Hockey stick. So this was the problem. What about this? The ideal catheter would have been AL. But what about this? This is Shepherd's crook RCA. 3DRC, or if you don't have 3DRC, because I think it's not available easily. At AIMS we had 3DRC, few catheters, but I don't think it's available here. You have to buy it specifically. Which one? Hockey stick. Ah, hockey stick. Everything wasted. Hockey stick, why you use hockey stick? Hockey stick you use in horizontal origin, is there, not superior origin. Hockey stick is for horizontal origin. You require more support. So instead of JR, you may use hockey stick. If you require still more support, then you use XBR or you use JL. But hockey stick for superior orientation, why? If it is not a very direct superior orientation, so otherwise you could even have used multi-purpose. You could have taken multi-purpose down and then bent it and took it up. So multi-purpose could have been used, but it's not that much superior origin. So which one? AL 7.5 tried, but not hooking. I'll show you again. So AL 0.75 tried, but then AL1 tried, and AL1 sitting nicely into it. This is another Shepherd's crook, and somebody tried IM. IM is also like this, so it might be successful sometimes, but it was not. And so this happened. And posterior origin RCA, AL. Anterior, posterior, upper, down, anything, AL. So somebody, smart person, tried JR, and you can see that what is happening. Another one tried MP, multi-purpose, and you can see what is happening. So some wise person then took AR, and he could have, AL would have been better, but anyway, at least Amplars was chosen, and so fortunately he was able to do it. This posteriorly oriented RCA. This is Shepherd's crook, classic Shepherd's crook. And again, which is the best catheter for Shepherd's crook? AL, right? But this smart person used AR, and not very good support. Then tried IMA. IMA is like bit like 3DRC. It's a smaller, it's a 3DRC का बच्चा ही होता है IMA, तो उसका पहला वाला वैसा होता है। 3DRC में सपोर्ट भी ज्यादा होता है, एस शेप्ड होता है 3DRC, तो उसका सपोर्ट ज्यादा होता है, बट IMA इज बिट लाइक 3DRC, एटलीस्ट उसका टर्मिनल पार्ट। तो 3DRC यूज किया, IMA कैथेटर यूज किया, बट वही था, डिसेक्शन हो गया। You can see dissection happened. So IMA is also not appropriate. So for the Shepherd's Crook RCA, if you try any funny catheter, be sure you will get a dissection. Any funny catheter you try, JR, hockey stick, anything, you will have a problem. You have to take 3DRC if you have, if not AL 0.75 or AL1. These are the things that you have to try. So obviously with that funny catheter IM, which was like somewhere in between, maybe they didn't have AL or person was not confident enough to use AL1, because sometimes you don't have AL1 or 0.75. So maybe they did not have, they did, and then there was dissection, ultimately they stented. I think finally, I think lunch please arrange kar lijiye kyunki khatam hone wala hai. So finally, I think I come to tips and tricks. So for selective catheterization, obviously you do LAO caudal to see how the catheter is sitting in the left main. You can hook it in LAO cranial or plain LAO, but for understanding how the catheter is sitting in left main, you can do LAO caudal. If you want to move it more LAD towards LAD, twist it counterclockwise. I already told you how to do the left hooking properly. So you can twist it counterclockwise. And if you want to go to circumflex, you can twist it clockwise. So it will move towards circumflex. If you move it counterclockwise, it will move towards LAD. And clockwise and slight withdraw. So you might get circumflex. And counterclockwise and push, you might get LAD. So this is how you selectively hook LAD. So you are doing, let us say, short left main and going again and again into circumflex, but you want to go into LAD. So the way to do is you shift clockwise and push. On the other hand, if you are going again and again into LAD, but you want to do a circumflex, then the way to do is clockwise and pull. And then you will get into circumflex. Obviously, when using a bulky device, you have to remain coaxial throughout. And then you can check in RAO position. Avoid side holes, because as I said, they give you false impression of, because they give you aortic pressure, you don't know what is happening inside the coronary. So that may be a problem. Tortuous lesions, you can use something called marker wire, because it will show you even when the artery is not, you don't push the contrast, it will show you the location of the artery. So when you want to deep seat, obviously you use long, soft radiopictic wires or guide catheters. But once you are doing a deep intubation, you have to look at the pressure tracing, whether you have completely occluded the artery or not. And unless you are sure that you have not completely occluded, don't push any contrast. And too deep intubation can lead to spasm, of course. So, friends, I like to conclude. Obviously, guide catheters are essential tools in any PCI, but you have to understand the construction, the design, the shape, and performance characteristics to make an appropriate selection. And selection of a correct guide catheter will be responsible for 90% of success of your case or failure. So people think better wire, better balloon, etc. will work, but the main thing is proper selection of guide catheter. That is the most important choice to make. Others only follow. So proper choice of guide catheter is, I think, something very basic. So I think with this I end. Thank you so much. And any questions? You want to say something? Dr. Meena? Please come say something. So we are very grateful to Dr. Meena. He is so supportive and we always.
Always. I look at especially in the I think it's good for content and for cardio said. Especially I think some of them very interesting of the meaning of it. Usually normally are the class that the one is hardware or software. This is our knowledge. You will be the factor that safety and what and these kind of conflicts is one of the things that we have especially we have you know what the have to say. So thank you and person I think so because I think we want to have verifier or we want to have approximately traces or approximately or general cases there. Making mention that Catheter was looking at Catheter, we look for the stand of how to most mathematical means where you can split it up in it, you can measure the catheter, that's how you can measure the size of form. If you fix that catheter, we know the size of it. You can calculate the size of catheter, that way you can calculate like a person. You can exactly compare the study. People who are not taking what is and they go into the secretary. We cover another source. Molecular you can measure the size of paper. We don't have to put on the sea. The sea is like one of these. Before that, you have to get it. But you have to take anything like designing or you have to calculate it. Then we have already we take up very here. We can just take up and this is extrapolated हाँ क्लोज कर सकते हैं तो